Hey there, good morning. I just stepped outside with my coffee to catch the first light of the day, and it reminded me how those quiet moments can set the tone for everything ahead. Let's find a bit of that peace together this morning.
That's exactly what we're here for on Blue Mountain Morning. You know, Alex, there's something special about taking a breath and finding clarity in all the noise.
Speaking of which, we've got quite a morning ahead of us on this Wednesday, January 8th. Some pretty significant stories to unpack.
Yeah, from the situation with the California wildfires to some pretty interesting comments from President-elect Trump. But don't worry, we'll break it all down in a way that helps make sense of everything.
And as always, we'll end with something that'll help you find your center, even in the most unexpected places.
Let's start with what's happening in California right now. The state's dealing with some serious wildfires, which is pretty unusual for January. There are currently 3 wildfires in the Los Angeles County, one in the Pacific Palisades in Los Angeles. The dry conditions and strong winds have really created a perfect storm situation, forcing Los Angeles to declare an emergency.
Yeah, and what's really concerning is how this is affecting communities that normally don't see fire danger this time of year. I mean, we're talking about areas that usually would be dealing with winter rain.
Exactly. The firefighters are working around the clock, and as of this morning, they've managed to contain about 30% of the largest blaze. But you know what's frightening? Officials warned that the worst is yet to come as tornado-like winds complicate firefighters' battles.
Oh, that is really tough. I'm just hoping people take the evacuation order seriously. But I do understand that it is hard to leave everything behind, not knowing if it'll still be there when you return. Now, we should probably talk about those pretty remarkable comments from President-elect Trump that came out yesterday.
Oh man, yeah. So, he was speaking at a press conference where he claimed he'd been thinking about forcefully taking Greenland, the Panama Canal, and, gee, this is the wildest part, even Canada.
I've got to say, that's something else. And just to give our listeners some context here, this isn't the first time he's brought up Greenland. Remember that whole situation back in 2008?
Right. He actually tried to explore buying Greenland from Denmark during his presidency, which, at the time, caused quite a diplomatic stir. Denmark's prime minister called the idea absurd, and honestly, these new comments are already causing some diplomatic waves.
Especially with Canada. I mean, they're our largest trading partner and closest ally. Prime Minister Trudeau's office has already issued a statement expressing serious concern about these remarks.
Yeah, and the Panama Canal comment is particularly interesting given its crucial role in global trade. About 5% of all world maritime commerce goes through there, so even talking about taking it has some pretty serious implications.
You know, Mark, these comments about territorial expansion really got me thinking about the bigger picture here, especially how this kind of rhetoric shapes America's image abroad.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just this morning I was reading statements from several of our key allies, and well, they're pretty concerned. Canada's actually increased their diplomatic engagement with European partners as a direct response.
And what's fascinating is how this plays into a broader shift we're seeing in international relations. Like, these aren't just empty words, they're actually impacting real policy decisions.
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting? The economic ripple effects. I was looking at some market reports, and there's been this subtle but noticeable tension in trade relationships, especially with Canada. The uncertainty is making some businesses nervous.
Well, and it's not just international, right? This is creating some pretty significant divisions domestically, too.
Exactly. We're seeing this really interesting split even within the Republican Party. Some traditional conservatives are pretty uncomfortable with this kind of talk about forceful territorial expansion, while others are, well, they're actually embracing it.
I noticed something really striking about the timing, too. This comes right as we're trying to strengthen relationships with our allies for various global initiatives.
Right. And here's what people might not realize. This kind of rhetoric has real consequences for things like military cooperation, intelligence sharing, even climate change initiatives. Like, just yesterday, I was talking to a foreign policy expert who mentioned that some joint military exercises are being sort of reevaluated.
That's actually pretty serious when you think about it. These are partnerships that took decades to build.
And you know what's particularly concerning? The way this affects our diplomatic corps. I mean, imagine being an American diplomat trying to negotiate important agreements while having to constantly address these kinds of statements.
Right. Now let's switch the topic. You know, watching these California wildfires unfold has really shown me something incredible about our communities, Mark.
Yeah, it's Actually, pretty remarkable. Even in the face of such devastating natural disasters, we're seeing neighbors helping neighbors, communities coming together. It's like this amazing display of what Americans do best.
I was particularly touched by this story from the Oakland Hills area, where this whole neighborhood created this impromptu emergency response network practically overnight.
That's exactly the kind of proactive thinking we need. And you know what? It's actually a really good reminder that we should all have some basic emergency prep in place, right? Like, it doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Oh, totally. What would you say are the absolute essentials people should focus on?
Well, first off, and I learned this the hard way, keep important documents in one easily accessible place. Things like ID, insurance papers, medical records, and then have a basic emergency kit with 3 days worth of water, non-perishable food, and medications. That's something we had touched on when talking about the crazy snowstorms in the Northeast.
Right. And don't forget about communication plans. I actually set one up with my family last month.
That's so smart. And here's something people might not think about. Take photos of your valuable possessions and store them in the cloud. It makes insurance claims so much easier if the worst happens.
But you know what really gives me hope? Seeing how communities that have faced disasters before are now helping others prepare. Like there's this amazing network of California fire survivors who are mentoring communities in other states.
Yeah, that's what America's all about, isn't it? Coming together, sharing knowledge, helping each other out. Even in the toughest times, we see this incredible resilience. Alex, I was walking through downtown yesterday morning, right in the middle of all that usual rush hour chaos.
Oh man, I know exactly what you mean. All those horns honking, people rushing around.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I noticed this tiny urban garden someone had created between two buildings. Just this small patch of green with these incredibly resilient flowers pushing up through the concrete.
That's beautiful, Mark, like nature finding its way even in the most unexpected places.
Right? And it got me thinking about how we're kind of like those flowers sometimes. Even in the middle of all this noise and chaos in our lives, we can still find these little moments of peace.
It's funny how these pockets of calm are often hiding in plain sight, isn't it?
Absolutely. Like, sometimes it's just about taking that deep breath and noticing what's already there. Those quiet spaces between the noise,
I love that. It's like we don't always need to escape to some mountain retreat to find peace. Sometimes it's right there in the middle of our everyday lives.
Yeah, and just like those flowers breaking through the concrete, we've got this amazing ability to create beauty and find stillness, even in the most unlikely places. We just need to pause long enough to notice it.
And that brings us to the end of today's Blue Mountain Morning, everyone. Thanks for starting your day with us and finding those little moments of peace together.
It really means the world to us that you choose to spend this time with us each morning. And remember, tomorrow's a fresh start, a whole new chance to discover something amazing.
Absolutely. Until then, stay curious and keep finding those unexpected moments of calm. We'll catch you right back here tomorrow morning.
Take care of yourselves, everyone. And hey, maybe keep an eye out for those little urban gardens today.
See you tomorrow, bright and early.